Alright, what's up guys, and welcome back to Aether Raids, or I'm back for Aether Raids week 92, day 5 of Astra season. I'm not certain I'm going to run into anything interesting or tough today to sort of figure out, but I did want to take this portion of the video and this chance to sort of ramble about the recent news drop in the FEH channel, and the first order of business would be the CYL4 heroes, right? In the Three Houses characters, the three main lords, and Lizithia. Not so much Lizithia. She does have a very efficient and strong base kit, but aside from her weapon, to an extent, her kit remains largely the same, so I don't really want to discuss her there. What I wanted to talk about were the three lords, right? Dimitri, Edelgard, and Claude. It kind of seems to me that their builds are sort of rehashed or slightly altered versions of currently existing heroes. And what I mean by that is, let's say for Dimitri, for example, right? He has a sort of min-maxed version geared towards attack and defense, in combat reversal debuff buffs. I'm not exactly sure what to call it. I'm sure there's somebody who coined a term for it somewhere. I just don't know about it. But he's basically like an attack defense version of Fallen Ike, in that sense. And he's also got his defense variant of damage reduction in his B skill, Blue Lion's Rule, or something like that, for damage reduction. So he's like an infantry lance version of Fallen Ike in that regard. And his weapon has built-in distant counter, so up next would be like Claude. I would probably compare Claude to Hell, in a sense. They're both flyers, yes, and Hell does have built-in protection against flyer effective weapons, right? Or like built-in IO shield basically in her weapon. But the main points of comparison, I would say, would be their overall deceptively that they're deceptively bulky, and I guess the points of comparison there would be Hell's C skill and Claude's C skill for in combat debuffs, or in Claude's case, it basically applies to anybody who's within 2 spaces of Claude, so that would affect combat even if you are engaged with Claude's teammate, so long as Claude is within 2 spaces of you. So it's basically a C skill variant of the Palm Staff. I forgot the exact name of the skill, but that's what it comes down to. But that's basically in combat debuffs. Claude is deceptively bulky in the sense that his weapon allows him to heal up upon triggering his special, and it heals for a greater amount than Hell's. Well, Hell doesn't have built-in healing, but her skills and her weapon are geared towards keeping her alive, basically, because she does have a miracle built in, at least against physical attackers. So most people would ideally give Hell like a healing special, or give Hell like, say, Mystic Boost or Renewal, to sort of try and capitalize on maximizing the number of times they can spam Miracle, basically. And in that sense, they're both flyers with Deceptive Bulk, healing / Miracle, so that's the sort of comparison that I'm making here. And for Edelgard, she's kind of like Brave Ike. She's got her second hit damage reduction, her overall stats and kit make her pretty darn tanky in distant ward and joint drive res, I believe. So there's that. One other thing that I kind of wanted to point out regarding these guys was the names of their weapons. They're wielding Arcanaean Regalia, I believe they're called, and they're altered versions of the Regalia, preceded with the words Moon for Dimitri, Wind, or Verdant, wait, was it Wind? Yeah, it was Wind Parthia for Claude, and Flower for Edelgard's Hauteclair. So I just wanted to point out that they basically took the last word of the name of the route post-time skip for each respective lord and put it in front of their weapon. So, like, Dimitri's route was Azure Moon, post-time skip, so they took that word, the Moon, and made it Moon Gradivis. And for Claude, they took Verdant Wind and took the wind part and made it a Wind Parthia, and they took Crimson Flower's Flower and made that the Flower Hauteclair. So that's something that I noticed was kind of neat. But I'd like to kind of play devil's advocate here and sort of think on the possibility of a hypothetical situation where the three lords weren't selected as the most popular heroes, and if let's say 3 other heroes were selected. I'm going to leave Lizithia alone because Lizithia is kind of an example of a hero who isn't compatible with any regalia, first off, and doesn't have a crest weapon of her own. And so, in the case where they select heroes who are compatible with regalia, let's say, like Felix from the Blue Lions, Leone from the Golden Deer, I guess Leone's kind of compatible with both the lance and the bow, right? So, let's say Ferdinand from Black Eagles. Felix would be compatible with Mercurius. Ferdinand would be compatible with Gradivis, and Leone would be compatible with Parthia. So, in that case, it kind of makes sense because they don't necessarily have their own crest weapons. Well, that's not true. I guess Felix technically does have his Aegis shield, but it would be more interesting to see that implemented as like a defensively oriented special for him. But I digress. I guess Ferdinand also does come with his own as well, but let's just ignore that for now and play devil's advocate. How would they have handled a CYL post-time skip student who did have a crest weapon of their own? Would they have given it to their post-time skip selves? Because, let's say Hilda was selected, she's already running Frey Kugel as her perf in her Academy version, or Academy skin, basically. So, it's kind of weird in a sense, but I guess there's not really much point in talking about this now that we do have post-time skip alts for the 3 main lords, given that legendary Edelgard already exists with her Aemir, because that's a bit of a discrepancy there, and like in continuity, where Academy version Hilda has her Frey Kugel, while post-time skip Edelgard has her Aemir. So that's just something that I found a little weird. But based on this, I think we can expect a legendary Dimitri and legendary Claude to drop at some point with their Arid Bar and Failnots respectively. So aside from that, are there other points that I'd like to discuss? Well, me personally, I'm probably just going to go with Dimitri, just because I'm a Blue Lions boy. But the other main point, I think, would be, well, the trait fruit, right? That's a pretty big deal. And the upgraded cap for dragon flowers, so that's pretty nice as well. It does add some flexibility to unit and team builds, if you're quite particular about that, if you need like certain stat speed boosted. So that's nice. But it does mean that for me, I need to start saving up flowers again, because I had so many units and projects that I wanted to work on that I'm really low on my resources, and I need to start saving up again for my top priority units, and sort of upgrade them all together, especially if they're part of a team that is quite particular on their stats. But that's something that I'll have to worry about further down the line. As for trait fruit, that's actually a really nice update, because your IVs for units were basically locked to RNG behind the gacha. So being able to control this, albeit with in-game resources, is really nice. I've seen people argue that, you know, the units who benefit from this the most would be the Grail units, who have always had neutral stats. So now that they can finally alter them, people can do sort of weird wonky things with their Grail units now. For me personally, I am pretty comfortable actually with where my my fully invested Grail units are. I don't particularly have a need to change IVs for any of them, I think. Let me think. My Zephiel's pretty good. I'm comfortable where he is. Same with my Dorcas. Winter Cecilia, I was thinking about maybe changing her IVs, but I've been sort of tweaking a new defense setup, and her current IVs and Dragon Flowers, with neutral IVs and +5 Dragon Flowers, are basically optimal for my upcoming setup, so I don't really see a need to change there. Same thing with my Brunnya, though she does need to be +10, +5 Dragon Flowers for my setup. So, me personally, I don't really see a need for using my trait fruits on Grail units for the time being. I think I would benefit more from giving it to my 5-star exclusive merge projects if I can't get the ideal IV on them. So that's also a beneficial aspect of the trait fruits. But I think the last order of business would be the raids, the new raid mode. There's not enough information and gameplay for me to sort of make an accurate judgment on this point, so I'll withhold my sort of opinion, and I'd also like to play it before I do make a judgment on that. So I think I've rambled on for long enough. I'm going to go ahead and cut here and resume recording once I'm ready to tackle my first match. So see you guys in a bit. Alright, and I'm back for my first match of the day, and I say first because I probably didn't mention this earlier, but I am going to be occupied for the entirety of tomorrow handling some family-related business. So that's why I'm going to try and get rid of my Aether today so that it doesn't overflow. And so after this one, I'm going to do another one. But today we are matched up against a Japanese player who goes by the name of Dadarion. So I've actually implemented a test team, well, 2 test teams. One being my Leila team, and this is my first week using her, so I'm sort of testing things out. I decided to give her renewal. I gave her budget renewal too because I didn't have any renewal 3 fodder. RIP. And that's taking into account maps with Duma's upheaval, so that in case Leila needs to attack Duma of all units, she can double and be able to take him out, because with full HP, Duma can't deny her her follow-up attack. So that's her build. I'm going to try and use her, pair her up with interchangeable units. This week I'm running Legendary Hector because it is fire season, and it's kind of canon. Leila is in service to House Ostia, so that's pretty cool. There is also, of course, her canon pairing with Matthew, with his Spy's Dagger, so my Matthew isn't fully built yet, but that's definitely something I'm considering for the future. The other team that I've sort of gotten around to setting up for testing is one for my Brunnya. I'm not going to really dive into this setup or the team because I've already rambled on for long enough today, but I've also got this, I've also got a close counter set for her in addition to the build that you see here, in case things don't really pan out with this one in particular. This one's a little bit more on the budget side because speed defense solo came from the ephemera, or the toilet papers, whatever they're supposed to be called, and attack smoke's also a fairly free-to-play option, so there's that. I thought long and hard about this map because a lot of things were working against me here. The enemy structures not so much, because a bunch of them are level 1. I would say it's mostly the imminent threat of these units that this person has. They're not taking into account scoring on defense, but these are pretty scary units overall. We've got a plus attack, plus 10 leaf, running a double death blow build, lull attack defense, defense smoke, Meisterbogen reposition, and Yorn Zeal. And we've got a plus 10, plus speed, legendary Celica with her base kit, flashing blade, Seraphim, reposition, and Aether, which is a bit of an odd choice. We've got a plus 10, plus attack Ophelia, running life and death special spiral, odd attack wave, hardy bearing, missile tane, reposition, and blazing wind. And a plus 10 plus attack Lizithia, with her Hades Omega reposition Glimmer, Deathblow 4, basically her base kit, but she is missing a seal. Then we've got the double dancers in the back, a plus 2, plus speed, legendary Azura, an offensive legendary Azura, which is something I can get behind. This did make me think a little bit on how I wanted to approach the map, because the dancers could potentially kill one of my units if I'm not careful. And she's running her Prayer Wheel, Grey Waves, Moonbow, Life and Death Wings of Mercy, Attack Tactic, and Defense Tactic. And we've got Peony running a similar build with her Flower of Joy, Gentle Dream, and Moonbow. This Peony is not running a Sacred Seal, however. And I would say the things that sort of stumped me the most was the fact basically, first and foremost, the trap placements. These are in a really good position, and the fact that their lightning traps are placed further back means that it's pretty much impossible for me to test these and try to Gale Force using my standard Gale Force team. So I had to come up with another way, and I decided to go with my Leila setup this time around. First time using this team, so I'm kind of excited and also nervous. My tactics room actually does help out because I plan on breaking these two structures, so tactics room shutting down Lizithia does give me this tile over here to work with. I would say, though, my bolt tower is not helping me out this time. It's actually working against me, in the sense that their healing tower is only level 1. I think I mentioned this earlier, but a majority of their structures are level 1, so the fact that this healing tower only heals 10 HP means that Lizithia has much less bulk for me to work with for my Legendary Hector to try to Gale Force. So what ends up happening is that taking into account the entirety of my strat, I actually have to make my move on a even turn, so that Iago's Tome comes into effect. You probably took a glance at Iago on the team setup, but I have him as my bonus unit this week. And Iago's Tome inflicts panic on units that are adjacent to each other on even turns, which is exactly what I need, so that this Leaf doesn't do as much damage, and this Azura does not do as much damage. And it's going to have to be pretty much endgame, turn 6, before I make my move, so that Lizithia recovers enough HP for Hector to get 2 hits in. So this is the best solution that I could find with my setup right now, and I think what ends up happening is that Iago will have to engage Leaf and take on the Azura, who's panicked, on enemy phase turn 6, and Azura should actually end up dying because she doesn't have enough firepower, thanks to being panicked, to take out my Iago, who's severely weakened by Leaf, and her defense is also crippled thanks to panic and dagger debuffs, which allows her resistance rather, which allows Iago to one-shot Azura and prevent Azura from following up with a Moonbow. And on turn 7, given the positions of my units, I think I'm only going to be able to snag 1 pot. I can maybe get the second pot if I'm lucky with gambling the lightning traps, but it's pretty much going to be 1 pot for the time being. One other caveat was that I tried to be a little too cute with my team build, and I opted to give my legendary Hector Fortress Res instead of Armored Boots, because I tried to take advantage of my Iago's attack opening, and my Leila and legendary Hector now have the same amount of visible attack thanks to Hector running Fortress Res. But unfortunately, since there is this Bright Shrine, which I'm probably going to have to leave alone, Leila won't be getting attack opening, but I think it should be okay. She should be able to double the Celica just fine when Celica's panicked. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in. If my math is right, Iago should be able to take out the Leaf and the Azura and barely survive. So we'll see if I'm right in that regard. Okay, so I wanted to keep Iago on the left side and have everybody else work on breaking down some structures on the right. I guess if I had Hector work towards this middle column of structures over here, where the Dark Shrine is, and Leila work towards these 2 structures, I could smite Hector up on turn 6. He would be over here, then he would take out the Lizithia with Boldfighter Gale Force, and then I could have my Altina repo Leila from this position, moving Leila over here after both of these structures have been broken. Then Leila could move up 2 spaces to attack Celica, and then Leila's dagger would allow her to swap with Hector, and then Hector would be able to take out Ophelia. And from there, Iago would engage Leaf, and that should be that. Though I do end up having 5 turns to work with, thanks to this guy's healing tower and my bolt tower. So I guess that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead and do this. I may actually have to have Leila break this Dark Shrine because this tile is being threatened by both, or this tile is being threatened by Ophelia rather, so okay. could break this. Go ahead and bring Leila back. And break that. And break this. Okay. So I could get Altina to break this. I guess I may actually end up needing like 4 to 5 turns after all, because it's mostly going to have to be Leila who reaches in to break these two this structure, and in order to get this one and safely have somebody retreat, probably going to need somebody to use reposition as well. So I think I can actually have Altina go over here, break this with Leila, and have Naga ready to break this, and then get Altina to repo Naga afterwards. Okay, so there goes my Bolt Tower. I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of this Dark Shrine. Get Naga out of the way. I guess move Hector here for the time being. And turn, kind of just fumbling around with my units at this point. It's kind of depressing to have to see me play around with my turns before I make my move, but that's just the reality of things. When your structures and skills kind of work against you. So, turn 4. I'm gonna have to wait one more turn after this, and then on turn 6 I can make my move. Okay. Okay, so I do need Leaf and Azura to be panicked, so that my Iago can safely take both of them on. So we're gonna wait one more turn. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and smite Hector. Get rid of the Lizithia. Trigger Gale Force. Go ahead and repo Leila up. Take out Celica. And swap. Beautiful. Take out the Ophelia. And take out the Leaf. Huh, so Leaf actually ended up doing less damage than I expected. Did I miscalculate something? Perhaps. Well, there we go. Azura should... Well, I guess now she chooses to run into Hector instead. Just cuz. Okay. Oh, now this is interesting. Could I potentially snag both pots from here? I don't think so. These guys are blocking the way to the pot, and I'd have to test this trap in order to break that structure. But the pot on the right side is guaranteed. So unfortunately, I am going to miss out on a pot for my first match, but that's not too bad. That's just 10 ether, so that's something I can work with. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and have Hector clean up the enemy units, and have Leila and the two in the back snag the ether. So go ahead and do that. Get the ether. And take out the two dancers. Alright. So, not too shabby of a test run for Leila against plus 10 units. So, I'll go ahead and cut here, and I'll jump back in for my second match when I'm ready. Alright, and I'm back for the second match, and I'm going up against a player who goes by the name of Jockbot with an Alencia lead. Let's go ahead and introduce their team real quick. And we've got a plus 10 Aversa with an HP Speed 2, Renewal, Ward Flyers, HP Res 2, her Versus Tome, Drawback, and Glimmer. So as you can see, Fireball, and we've got a plus 1 plus attack Kinshi Knight Hinoka. That would be the easiest way for me to denote her. She's got attack speed bond, which she comes with. I forgot what this was supposed to be. Her C skill's flyer guidance. I forgot what the B skill was called, but it enables her to work within 2 spaces of flyer ally. I don't really use it all that often, so it doesn't really ring a bell, unfortunately. This one's a neutral Brave Micaiah, likely the free one from CYL4. Attack respawn 4, Yoon's Whispers, Ward Armor, and this skill again. A plus 7 plus attack Shersha with Deathblow Drawback, Good Flyers, IOT Shield, her Perf, Drawback, and Glimmer. Alencia, plus 1 plus speed with her Refined Amity, Drawback, Moonbow, Deathblow. That skill again. I don't know why I can't recall it right now. My brain is just kind of working on fumes. It's running on fumes right now. I've got a Sturdy Blow and a plus 10 plus speed Cordelia. Is this Resplendent? No, it is not. Okay, so she's got Life and Death, Dragback, Go Flyers, Heavy Blade, Fire Sweep, Lance, Drawback, and Moonbow. So I am not running my own Kinshi Knight Hinoka anymore in favor of Leila. So I don't have any hard counters to flyer teams, so to speak. And because of that, I ended up considering my Brunnya, but I don't think I'm going to run with her this time around. Just because the way that I wanted to approach this map was to actually test these, or break these structures, and test this lightning trap on the right column. And I would have to have Brunnya take out the Micaiah, but I don't think Brunnya ends up having enough attack to do so, thanks to color disadvantage and the fact that Micaiah has at least like 51 res, I believe. So, granted, there is this bolt tower, and my healing tower isn't, or their healing tower isn't going to be able to affect their Micaiah. I just don't think my Brunnya would be able to do it, because she's mostly there for tanking as opposed to straight up being able to snipe units. So that's a little unfortunate here. I'm going to go ahead and try out my Sophia and Faye combo instead. And I'm actually going to be able to make use of the Infantry Breath Glimmer combo. And I do end up needing to run Hone Attack, which I have on my Altina, so that Sophia has enough attack to one-shot the Aversa with Glimmer. And I do need to be careful of the Aversa's Tome and this Lightning Trap, so that Sophia has enough HP to avoid getting panicked, and can still utilize the Hone Attack buffs to trigger Glimmer and take out the Aversa. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. I'm going to have to make some weird maneuvers to start off, because I don't have much room to work with here. So I'm going to have to get somebody that's not Sophia to test out this Lightning Trap, and keep Sophia away from the range of the Lightning Trap, and then I'm going to get Sophia to snipe these two Ethers before getting my units into position. So I'm going to go ahead and sort of see how things play out. And I can't have too many units sort of hogging up or like taking up too much space on the right side. Oh, this person's running a Blue Lions fight. Cool. I guess I'll have Fjorm sit this one out for the time being, just because I don't see her assist really being helpful for me here. And I do need Smite and Reposition on my Naga and Altina respectively. So, with that being said, I probably can't test this out turn 1. Can't. So I can test this out turn 2, then get set up with Sophia, and then proceed to break an Aether turn 3, break this turn 4, get set up by turn 5, and make my move on turn 6 is probably how it's going to go. Just because I need to make minimal maneuvers thanks to the lack of space that I have here. Okay. So I guess smiting Altina would probably be my best option. Because this Tactics Room does also jam my Sophia, which is a little unfortunate. So if I were to move Altina up, turn 2 I could smite her, and then I could have Sophia park here by swapping with Naga. Then Altina would return to this position, I believe. Then on turn 3, I could have Sophia move up to break the Aether, get Faye to move right behind Sophia, likely with the help of a reposition from Altina. And then turn 4, I break this with Sophia, who's over here. Then Faye would draw back, so these two guys are here. And then turn 5, I would move Faye down, move Sophia down, and swap. So that Sophia's in this position. I'd probably have Altina on this tile, providing Hone Attack buffs for the following turn, turn 6. And then Naga would be on the tile below Sophia, so that Naga could smite Sophia up. And Sophia would be on this tile at that point. But because Sophia was parked on this tile on player phase turn 5, she should have her normal amount of movement. And then Faye would be able to draw up from this position. So Faye would end up here, and Sophia would be able to move over here to take out the Micaiah. And then the Aversa and Hinoka should run into their deaths, giving me one turn to work with to try and take out the Shersha, Valencia, and Cordelia. So that's a little bit of a dangerous prospect, I will admit. It's a little scary. But may be able to pull this off. Sophia probably won't be able to do much on turn 7, given that she's being jammed by the Tactics Room. So Sophia would probably end up breaking this Tactics Room so that Faye can have a little more room to work around, and probably take out the Cordelia. I'll have Altina would probably have moved on to another position to try and catch one of these 2 flyers. I expect Shersha to either come straight down to chase after Fjorm, or move kind of over to the right to try and chase my Naga. But granted that Naga is going to be in this corner tile over here, I feel like Shersha should chase after the units that's closer. But she might actually just end up chasing Naga because Naga has lower defense, which is something that I need to take into account. Gives me 1 turn to take out the Shersha and the Alencia. So Shersha, it's kind of hard to tell who's going to go first. I suspect Cordy's going to move onto this tile to try and attack Sophia, and Alencia will likely move over here to try and get Faye. So at that point, wait, why am I overcomplicating things? I do need to get rid of these guys, but I think what I'm going to end up doing instead is have Altina take on the back row, because I think that she can do that just fine. So she's not going to get affected by this Tactics Room. She doesn't have visible buffs. So once she ends turn, she's going to be alone, and she's not going to get panicked or affected by Yoon's Whispers. And once she gets hit once or twice by whoever, she'll have Brazen Attack on deck and the looming threat of Twin Blades. So I think that might be a better choice all around. Also, granted that I'm possibly going to be in Vantage range after testing this out, so that might be a better play. Okay, right, so we're going to go ahead and go with that. I'm going to go ahead and put Altina and Naga there. Go ahead and put these guys up here. Alright, we'll smite now, and that was actually the trap. So, let's see. So we'll go ahead and swap Naga and move Altina back down. from the next turn, Sophia can move over here, take out this Aether. I'm gonna need to move Faye up so that she can move on to that adjacent tile the following turn. So go ahead and do that. Thanks to that lightning trap, though, Fjorm does actually have... well, okay. Makai decided to come out and use Sacrifice, interestingly enough. So, that's made things a little more awkward. And I'm gonna go ahead and snipe this pot first and foremost. I think from this position, none of these units can actually hit me. Regardless of whether or not I withdraw my Sophia. The Sophia would be on this tile, Altina would be on this tile, even with... oh, it's called Flyer Formation. I don't know why it's coming back to me now. Even with Flyer Formation, none of the units can actually reach. So... only the range units would be able to attack. And Cordelia might end up moving first. If Alencia ends up moving first for some reason because of slot priority, then Versa and Noka will not be able to warp to this tile to attack Altina, unfortunately. So that's a bit of a bummer, but we'll see what we can do from there. I'd like to snag this Aether while I can. Alright. Okay, so Makai decides to go after my Sophia, which is fine. So Corey does indeed go first, allowing the ranged units to make their move. I guess not. So... I think I'll go ahead and take out this Cordy first. And then have my Sophia and Faye retreat. And have Altina take on the Aversa and Alencia. Okay, so there goes the other units, and from here, I guess this was just basically cleanup for Altina, really. I ended up overthinking things, so sorry about that, guys. And that was it for the second match of the day. I'm just about ready to head to bed. I don't know if you can tell by the lack of energy and enthusiasm in my voice, but I will be skipping out tomorrow because I've played tomorrow's share just now, and hopefully I'll see you guys on day 7. All right, take care.